Air crash investigation is a crucial part of aviation safety. If you want to know how it's done, then stay with me. I'll be back after this. Aviation is a fascinating and a safe world. Unfortunately, sometimes things go horribly wrong. This is when the air crash investigators come in. They are commonly known as the GO team. TSB and TSB BA. Well, you guessed it. These are the government agencies competent and responsible for investigating air crashes in their respective countries. These men and women usually belong to the Transportation Department, but in some countries, they report directly to the Defense Department. They are constantly on alert and can deploy in a matter of minutes or at the most a few hours to crash sites, depending on their geographical locations. While deploying, they try to gather as much information as possible, mainly everything related to the aircraft maintenance history, crew records, and weather. Once on site, they split into several groups. The first two groups are very important because they need to act fast, and you'll see why in a minute. The first group will have to locate the four corners of the aircraft. What are the four corners? Well, the four corners of the aircraft is basically the area where all the debris are scattered and allocated. It varies a lot depending on the accident circumstances, such as speed, contact on water or land, the aircraft bank angle, the angle of the aircraft relative to the ground upon impact, the nature of the terrain, and these are just a few criteria. For example, on June 6, 1992, Copa Flight 201, a Boeing 737-200, had an in-flight breakup at 10,000 feet over the Amazon jungle, resulting in debris scattered over an area of 100 square miles or 260 square kilometers. That's equivalent to an area of Liechtenstein, San Marino, and Tuvalu combined. However, in October 1994, an American Eagle Flight 4184 contacted the ground at very high speed in Roselawn, Indiana. And because the aircraft hit the ground in one piece and at very high velocity, it left a distinctive V-shaped path of debris over a relatively small area. In the meantime, the second group will have to locate the black boxes, which consist of a flight data recorder, the FDR, and a cockpit voice recorder, the CVR. Now wait, why do we call them black boxes since they are red? You see, in most cases, and I repeat, in most cases, we use black boxes after crashes, and crash sites usually burn, and hence the black color. Now, why do they have to do all this in an expedited manner? Well, one of which is because of the data collection sensitivity. It's obviously the most critical component of the investigation, as it contains solid evidence to conclude the case beyond reasonable doubts. The black boxes can withstand a direct exposure to fire and heat for a maximum of 30 minutes at a temperature of 1100 degrees Celsius. Also, in every black box, there is an integrated locator beacon that allows the search and rescue, the SAR team, to find it quickly, especially when underwater. But the locator battery has a 30 days lifespan only. After that, the signal will just fade away forever. Looting could be a major threat to the investigation in some part of the world, as local people will get there faster than a SAR team and may take away some critical pieces of the wreckage, including the black boxes. It has been seen that the investigators had to buy the black boxes from the nearby villages, as was the case in Transperu 204 accident, where the flight data recorder had to be bought back for $500. Now, I don't personally put the blame on those poor people, rather on poverty and lack of education. Another team will go and gather eyewitness accounts from survivors and local citizens, although it has been seen that their testimonies were not always 100% accurate because of a psychological effect, which I will not discuss as it is beyond the scope of today's video. But the investigators know that. At any stage of the process, if the investigators have doubts that the accident was other than accidental, they will immediately contact law enforcement agencies to run a parallel criminal investigation. For instance, they will call the RCMP in Canada or the FBI in the US. They also have an army of specialized professionals, everyone in his or her respective field of expertise. They can have metallurgists for metal fatigue, flight instrument engineers, psychologists for mental health issues, and human factor professionals to wrap up the whys around all this. The air crash investigator's background is diverse. It could be engineering or former pilots. They also have to be psychologically tough. You see, a crash site is not the most glamorous places on Earth. The second they set foot on site, it's a scene of wreckage, chaos, and destruction. They have to walk in between human remains and chemical spillage, not to mention the smell, and they treat the site with enormous respect. On top of this comes the pressure. The pressure from the accident itself. Was it a hidden design flaw, knowing that thousands of similar aircrafts carrying millions of people daily could be at risk? The political pressure, especially when a government official is among the victims. Also, the pressure from the media and the possible rumors inflaming the public opinion. And not to forget the dangerosity of the job itself, as the investigators would sometimes have to deploy in war zones. Air crash investigations could also be an expensive endeavor financially speaking. We all remember the Air France 447 accident in the Atlantic Ocean on June 1, 2009. It was the most expensive search and recovery operations in airline history, with a cost of 28 million euros in the first year only. After all the painstaking process, there it comes. The findings. The final report that could take years to finalize. In this report, the investigators will identify and highlight the root causes of the tragedy and emit recommendations to aircraft manufacturers, airlines, authorities to rewrite regulations if needed. All this to prevent a similar accident from happening again and to make our skies safer. And all these lost lives would not have gone in vain. Now, I'm not here to scare you guys, okay? As air travel remains the safest way to move around. I've personally been in the industry for more than 20 years, and I have no intentions of giving up flying anytime soon. My hope is to put air crash investigations a thing of the past. Call me utopian if you wish, but this is just me. As aviation professionals, we can't accept anything less than the best. We should improve ourselves at a personal level. We should not be satisfied with the minimum legal knowledge and skills requirement, as this might not be enough to bring us back home should things go wrong. Don't forget, guys and girls, we are the last line of defense. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, one final thing before we leave. Is it a ridiculous idea for me to ask you to subscribe if you like this content and want to see more videos coming up? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And remember, help yourself first before helping others. Cheers, guys.
Long Easy 6 Delta Bravo, runway 7, land is to hold short on runway 12, clear land.